Hello and welcome everyone to episode 10 of Deconstructing the Construct. Managed to put the band back together, which means that Donna and Jenny are both back in my house, so that's fun. Lurking in the background somewhere. They'll be joining us shortly, I'm sure. And I'll speak of the devil. Yeah.
I'm going to bite you.
Where was I going to go with this? Almost wanted to say, like, there's no show today because nothing happened last week. Because in comparison to the week before, nothing did. But of course, stuff still does every day, every week, things shift and change. And last Friday, my time, Thursday night for you guys in the States, we were doing our regular weekly members call. And towards the end of the call, an energy kind of came through that knocked majority around, self included. And it wasn't unified. And a lot of people haven't felt quite unified since then. I'd have to say, for some of us, it felt like, myself, I felt like I literally moved backwards. Others felt like they moved forward. Some sort of felt like they just did a little pirouette. And others felt nothing. There was the sensation that now that stage one is complete, that we were being strategically placed, or we were strategically placing ourselves where we need to be in preparation for stage two, whatever that may be. There are, how do I put this? It all kind of feels like we're scattered at the moment energetically, and yet cohesively connected at the same time. It's one of those paradoxes. And as I said last week, I think it was, that I often don't get the clarity that I need until it's okay to talk about it, because I talk about it. And there is this feeling that just, it's like, hang on, just wait, you'll get your clarity, but just not yet. Until everything is locked in place. And then I don't think I'm going to quite get what's really going on here. But that's my take. Since Friday, and we also saw, actually, around the same time, there was a lot of stuff being posted. There was seismographs all over the world going crazy, and yet at the same time, earthquake activity pretty much came to a halt. That eerie calm before a storm kind of halt. We've had the strangest weather, which again feels quite contrived and manipulated. It's such extremes. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen what's going on up in Russia again. They look like they're going to get hit again. There was activity again in my skies last night above the house for the first time since Donna and Jenny were here last, which is interesting. You okay? So for myself, I was one of the ones that felt like I kind of went backwards. And it felt like 72 hours, 3 days. There are people publicly, Danny, Randy Morgans, and a few others, who were talking about going back to 2013 to dot I's and cross T's. I don't feel that myself. But I can see the point that they're making in terms of the stuff that felt like it was gaining momentum in 2013 and then suddenly stopped or just sort of fizzled out, or, you know, the big global changes that should have followed through. So I see that and I can see how some of that stuff's being revisited. But for me, it does feel like this strategic putting us in place. Maybe some people did go back that far. I only went back 3 days, is how it feels. Yeah, Jayling, I think that is possible. And some went forward. I'll see if I can get Donna to share what she attempted to share last night, but still hasn't quite got the words for, because I want to see, this is the first time I've heard this, so I want to see if anybody else relates to this in terms of moving forward, for those who felt like they moved forward. There's been I want to hear from you guys. I've seen dreams posted on Facebook and sent to me personally that would suggest to people that an event, that again, we're at that cycle where people are having a kind of event-driven dreams, but there is a new take on them. There is, instead of it being more like a party or a celebration, there's these warehouses, airport hangars, waiting rooms, or huge offices, something where it's a big space, people come together and they're being prepped or trained or equipped to go and for something big. So there's a different flavour and theme to these events, but they're very positive dreams, they're very exciting dreams, and they still have the theme of an event running through them. And those dreams seem to come through in cycles too. What else was there? The snakes seem to have disappeared. So if anybody's still having snakes turn up for them or snake dreams, let me know. But in terms of the sheer volume of messages I was getting around that, and for myself, they've disappeared. You've got scorpions, Laurie. Just as nasty at times. Yeah, deep core programming got closed out. A lot of people really, really clicked with the concept that we created this space to lure them into and acted as bait. That explained a lot of things for a lot of people, it seems. Ended up getting an overmarried. Is there anybody also, going back several weeks when we talked about the authentic male coming in, how many, well, firstly, you men, speaking directly to you, are feeling any kind of internal struggle between what we would call the authentic male energy and what we would call the false patriarchal male energy internally? And women, are you seeing it with the men in your lives? Yep. I'm asking whether you're seeing any kind of internal struggle between the patriarchal false male energy and the authentic male energy. Some men seem to have embraced this authentic male and they just changed overnight for the better. I'm seeing others look like they're struggling. Patriarch has left the building, beautiful. Integrated, so no struggle. Not a struggler, no struggler. Seeing both. Yeah, I am too. I'm seeing those who just embraced it and really released and let go of all that old patriarchal crap, and others who just seem to be really toing and froing, struggling with it. Challenging, yeah. My partner changed overnight. For the better, I hope, or in a positive way. That's probably very true, Aaron. The volunteer here, so no struggle. I brought the authentic male energy with me when I incarnated here. Yeah, see, this is again, because we talk about this amongst the members too, how even though we've come together as this large group in that sort of online community environment, even within that group, there are many little subgroups. So we've got what we're calling the originals, those who were here from the get-go of the invasion. Cool. We've got the volunteers. We've got those from completely outside the construct, all constructs, it seems. And even within those groups, there's different subgroups with certain tasks to do. And MapKeeper could well be, and I feel like it is anyway, it's a job title, you know. And there are many map keepers, and we've got map keepers who are mapping history, star maps, body maps, ancient construct maps. We've got all these types of maps, and people who are attempting to map the journey that we're on right now. And so that you can call that a little subgroup of a subgroup even. But I do think it's made up, predominantly the map keepers I feel are made up of the volunteers that came in just recently. That's how it feels. Donna, I was going to ask if you thought you could put into words what you were trying to explain last night in terms of future. Nope. All right. I'm going to paraphrase, and if I get it wrong, she's going to tell me. That's probably the best part, best bit, best way. So as I said, it felt like some of us went back, some went forward, some went around in circles, some went to the left and then to the right. But what Donna expressed last night was a first. For those of you who have had the experience where you've known you've gone through an integration process, where you've integrated an aspect or a fractal of yourself, you might be familiar with all of the accompanying sensations. Sometimes you take a spin to the left. You have that, what I call a dementia moment, where you don't know who you are, where you are, the name of the person standing next to you. You have that moment. Things don't feel familiar, or they're kind of familiar, but not quite your reality, all of that stuff. And you can look different, you can have different physical symptoms or different marks on your body or whatever. So, bearing all that in mind, these aspects of ourselves that we've integrated up to this point do feel like an alternate to us, or what we would call a past life version of us. You know, it's like bringing the past up or bringing an alternate in. What Donna tried to express last night was that she feels like she's reaching forward into the future and grabbing future versions of herself and pulling them back to here. And this is where we get totally speculative. Yeah, compared to what we always do. Up until 2012, it felt like we've been here before, we've done this before, you know, the deja vus, the sensation of here we go again. Since 2013, Mandela effects aside, it feels like we've been moving more and more into uncharted territory, that we haven't been here before. But if there are parallel timelines, then there may well be many parallel timelines where we did get to 2012 and they did manage to do a reset. So are there future or alternate versions of us who got put through the reset, and they're now, we'll say future versions of us who got through 2012 and it just kept going, and, you know, New World Order and transhuman agenda and everything completely played out because they did manage a reset. Is it possible that we're going and grabbing those? I guess anything's possible in a hologram, right? Oh, and totes. Is that short for totally? Totally, dude. Okay, so to those who have been leaving comments on YouTube about any mention of the Arctic, the Antarctic, globe, plane, do I think the world is a globe? No. Do I think it's a plane? No. However, I think it's a hologram and a construct, and it's a computer program, but there is ground beneath my feet inside for the avatar. The avatar believes there is ground beneath my feet that I walk on. And it's written into the program that this is the way it looks. This is the playing field. So within the construct itself, yes, I think there is a somewhat flat construct platform that we play on, right? It is slightly curved. It is not a globe. It is not completely flat. It is slightly curved. But like I've said many, many times, for me, the journey of going on down the rabbit hole of the flat earth is what led me to hologram in the first place. So I can't have a conversation or an argument about whether or not it's a globe or whether it's flat, because I don't think it's either. So it's a holodeck, yes. And in a holodeck, I can have it whatever way I want. So I hope that clears that up. Yeah, something is playing out. And I have a feeling that this is one of those times where we are keeping the details from ourselves for strategic reasons. And we will know when it's okay for us to know, when it doesn't matter anymore. That's how it feels. So there's a few people who, yes, felt that that is entirely what's going on, the whole reaching into the future, grabbing a future version of themselves. So I guess this relates to those of you who are feeling that sensation that you went forward. I went backwards, but it only felt like 3 days. And some literally just did pirouettes. And it does feel like pieces on a chessboard. Everyone's just getting put into place. We are somehow more connected than we were, and yet within our own individual space and sphere. It's finding words for how all this feels energetically is obviously difficult. A string of fairy lights. Okay, I can go with that. Aaron, are you in a position to share your dream from last night? I love the picture.
Yes.
Do you want me to share that picture?
Yeah, Yeah, go ahead.
Here you go. So what was your dream?
Okay, so it was just real. It's actually pretty short because this part of it kind of interrupted my normal dream. Like this part of it was pretty short, but I remember I was with a group of people. I don't really know who. I was in public, so not a field, but kind of in public. And I just remember looking at the sky and seeing exactly what you're saying, basically like a hole in the sky, and it was black, like not like space black, but just black, like as in like computer shut off kind of black. It looked kind of like a glitch, and around the edges, it kind of looked like it was bending time and space, sort of. That's kind of what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just thinking, oh my gosh, like it happened, like, or like, oh my gosh, that happened. Like it wasn't necessarily, it felt like the way to relate to it, how it felt is, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Island.
Yes.
But do you know how all the clones are living in this environment they think is the Earth, and then suddenly like the monitors shut off, and then they realize like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it felt like. And it was, and the thought like the tech is broken, or, you know, just thoughts like that kept on running through everyone's minds, sort of. And that was basically it. Short, sweet, and simple.
Okay.
But it's kind of hard to communicate like the overall feeling that was of how intense that was. So,
well, if we really do have a sun simulator, which is a piece of tech giving us an artificial 24-hour day, and it is in the shape of a circle or a sphere up in the sky, what would happen if that thing just shut down? What would it look like? Would we have a big black circle in the sky? Would it just disappear? What would that look like?
It looked like a rocket or something exploding.
You think it would explode? That's if it explodes. What if it just shut down? What if someone just pushed the off button?
I think it would reveal the real sky.
But what would happen where it is sitting?
I think it would be too far away.
It may or may not be totally. Oh. Okay. 3 days of darkness that he's always talked about. So if as we sort of played with last week, that our natural sun is much longer journey, is a much longer journey, and we've got this sun simulator that is giving us a fake 24-hour period and a fake nighttime because we've got this projection being projected on the dome that goes over the top. If that technology died and it was nighttime organically, whatever that means, then you might have 3 days of darkness before the actual sun came up again. Could it just simply be something like that?
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. It felt like when I saw the hole in the sky, it kind of looked like, oops, a program crashed. That's what it seemed like. And the black was not the blackness of space or anything, or the blackness of no light. It was more like the blackness of, like, imagine there was a part of your monitor that just stopped working.
Right.
Like that. Like, oops, something broke.
Time slowing down. Yes, but that happens in spurts for me. So it's not a general. It's like for a few hours it'll just stop.
And I guess one last clarification. There was not a feeling of fear. It was of like, wow, this is happening. Like, wow, this is breaking down. Like, oh my gosh, look at that. Can you believe it? That was the error, not fear or like, or anything. So yeah, just thought I'd share.
Well, I haven't heard anyone yet sharing these sort of dreams about the preparation dreams or the stuff going on in the sky where there's been fear associated with it. Not those sort of dreams. And Jim, no, I didn't. Do you want to share what was said? Germany has an extra sun ready to go up. Days are becoming longer. Okay, thanks, Jim. Yeah, lots of dreams of, wow, this is finally happening.
Stage 2.
Well, we feels very much like we're getting prepped for stage 2, but no clarity yet on what stage 2 is going to look like. What we do have as clues is this spate of dreams that are coming in. This feeling of movement, like we're being strategically moved around a board. And getting prepped, lots of preparation dreams, but no real clarity yet on prepped for what, because everyone's dreams seem to finish right when it's like, okay, go. And then they stop. Whether they're waking up naturally or getting woken up right at that moment. It's just kind of funny. So we're not meant to know just yet, I guess. We'll know when we know. Yeah. What? A Mandela effect on all the clocks with Roman numerals, now 4, which used to be a 1 and then a V, is now 4 1s. Are you serious?
What?
Oh. That would be... And deja vu coming back in. So we've done the Egyptian. Are we now doing the Roman quadrant?
Oh, I have no idea.
Why?
Oh, that's going to be way nastier.
Okay, can somebody please quickly for me just do a search on Roman numerals on Google and tell me if the 4 has changed like everywhere?
I did, and it's still the same.
You're still seeing a 1 and a V? A 1 and
Yep.
a 5? Okay.
Yep.
Right.
We did have deja vu.
Which?
2 accents on deja vu.
Oh, okay. So last Friday, and for those who know French very well, we've had two people who both are French and who French is their first language say different things. Last Friday, while we were all being hit, and the sense of deja vu hit for a couple. And as in the moment they were going to write the word deja vu, and it changed, which is ironic. But the word deja vu was D-E with the accent, J-A-V-U, and on Donna's phone, it changed to having 2 A's, and then it was showing up everywhere with an accent on the A as well, which was a first. So one of our members who was French said, you rarely ever see an accent on the A unless the A is by itself. And another French-speaking member said, no, they've seen it before. So, but to have a Mandela effect on the word deja vu, I just found ironic. What's going on?
get a dancer from pole dance?
On what?
What was that? Gumby Gumby or some plant that
Oh, was that?
what was that called?
Yeah, Gumby Gumby. Okay, for the Australians, because I think this was supposed to be an Australian native. Has anybody heard of the Gumby Gumby plant before?
Gumby?
Yeah, it was Gumby Gumby. No. Jenny, yes. Well, did you hear from it recently with Aaron? Sophie's heard of it. Never. No, it was new to me too. But apparently has quite the history and has been used for medicine, I
It's
believe.
one of the most common things for sold in chemists and everything. So
A common, never heard of it before. Gumby, the claymation, the little green dude, him I've heard of. And yes to Jenny, the Indigenous use it all the time. And Phil's heard of it. Okay, so some of the Australians have heard of it.
But we're talking about, this is now a common household, like eucalyptus oil, apparently. Like, it's a common household item used for colds and flus and stuff like this. Apparently, it's one of the go-to things now. That we've been apparently been marketed by our industry in Australia for the last 20 or 30 years.
Okay, so you probably didn't hear that, but apparently now it's as common as tea tree oil, and it's a household must-have and has been marketed to us as a product for 20 or 30 years, is what it's currently saying, apparently. That's I've never heard of it. But now, also there was, and I'm sure John is still, if he's here. John's here on his iPhone.
Me, John?
Yes, you, darling.
Hello.
Hello. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing the synopsis of the post you put in about the volunteers, because
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on, let me just pull it up on my iPhone, because honestly, it's like as soon as I write these things, I completely forget everything I just wrote. Okay. But yeah, when you and I had spoken, what'd you say? I'm sorry?
we're hearing you scroll like a madman.
Oh, sorry. All right, but I found it. So when we spoke this week, when was it? I think it was Thursday my time, so maybe Friday your time or Wednesday. But it was like 4 a.m. my time, so I was completely burnt out, and you triggered me with something, and it just completely fried my brain, and I couldn't digest any of it. And finally, when it happens literally every day, so it's okay. But when I finally sifted through it, and I saw what I had seen, what I was trying to explain to you was that there's a balance of energy and matter within the construct. And there's that whole theory that, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. And the same thing with matter, that, matter can't be created from nothing and it can't be destroyed into nothing. It's always going to be matter. So the thought was, what happens if we put people into the construct? Is the whole thing going to collapse? Is that going to reverberate throughout the macrocosm? Are we going to feel it because of it? So that's where that kind of law of non-interference came in, because they just didn't want people touching this thing, because they were afraid it would bust. So, and that's the other thing too, is that, they had their doubts and fears that were starting to kind of leak out, especially to those people that were really watching it closely. So it kind of became this position where it was like all hands on deck. And if the construct goes, we go with it. And if the construct transcends, we transcend with it. And the idea that they had was that they would be able to hack into things that were already built into the construct, like annual meteor showers or lightning storms and things like that were very electrical, but to use that as a means of kind of transporting things into the construct that weren't there already. Kind of the same idea as like the Merovingian in the Matrix, the guy that kind of transported things into the construct that weren't supposed to be there. It's like that, but not nearly as nefarious. And the comets themselves, not only were they annual, semi-annual, so it kept coming around, it was in every timeline, it was, you know, all across the board. It also contained the earth, air, water, fire, electricity, and even if it's a hologram, we know that those things, you know, they have their own kind of energies. So it would be able to discharge enough energy to carry something through like consciousness. Lightning could carry through data, but consciousness was the tricky thing. So throwing those consciousnesses in was like throwing stones into a still pond, and all of that chaos from the waves is the thing that rattled the cage so fucking hard that it started breaking us out of our loops. And that's why this whole conversation about, oh, well, what happened with 2012, 2013 was so bizarre. I really do think that we moved past 2012 for the first time ever on any timeline. I mean, all the timelines did it at the same time, and it's not that date for every timeline, but we moved past that moment as opposed to the 4 or 5 other times that we just kind of looped backwards. And that was because everybody that was here, they kind of had this energetic magnetic map that was kind of tattooed onto their spirit, I guess you would say, that was the map to get through the timelines. Because there was a way through the timelines to kind of bring things to that singularity. And because they held that resonance with home, as soon as they were entered, which was the first wave of volunteers, which was like that Summer of Love Woodstock generation, as soon as those people came in, that splash, everything changed from there on out. And that predictive programming Jetsons future that was being put onto people in like the 40s and 50s should have happened. And we should have hit that singularity moment around 2012 when they would have just looped us right back through. But because of all the things that happened, they never got their World War III, they never got any of the New World Order things that they wanted. It was too much energetic disturbance. So we didn't necessarily like write in new characters, but we found a way to like genetically mark people so that they would be the avatars and that they would receive like, you know, they would be on like the mailing list for the data that was coming through the matrix. And they would begin to get these uploads and they would begin to integrate. And even if they weren't consciously doing anything, that magnetism was all that they needed because it was just steering, it was creating order out of chaos. All the chaos that happened from the waves of the stones being thrown into the pond, like that metaphor, that gave them the opportunity to create order from chaos just through their magnetism, which was the only thing that was different. So that kind of led us to this point, and that's why, like, I had my awakening after 2012, after 2013, when, like, you know, the Kundalini awakening, the whole show. So it wasn't before that on this timeline. So, I mean, that's just like the little piece that I can give, but that was pretty much the gist of everything that came through.
Yeah, you don't do me. Let's just clarify that for starters. This goes back to, as well, the idea that, because when we were having those early days conversations with Lilo and Oliver and crew, Lilo was consistently running scenarios, and there was this, she'd come back, we'd have a conversation, we'd throw out some ideas, and she'd go, okay, I've got to go and run that. And she'd go and run scenarios and see what the potential outcomes were. And there was always this non-interference kind of philosophy, as well as not wanting to do anything really where they couldn't map the outcome really well. But then it got to a point where we believe a small crew, maybe only half a dozen, against potentially Home's collective consensus, as rebels, decided we're going in. And they came in. And they gave Home no choice. Because the very thing that they were hoping to prevent, which was causing these ripples, throwing rocks in the pond, doing things that would create too much uncertainty and chaos, was done. Because when they came in, that was like, well, it's been done now. So then we believe, based on messages that we got, that they came through in 5 waves. So, however, prior to doing that, that small crew that came in first absolutely did have a plan and left home thinking that they hadn't had it all figured out yet. So they had to follow them in to find out what the plan was. I mean, it's kind of genius and convoluted, but I mean, there are those who are the volunteers. Now, I've tried explaining this before, and I don't know if I do a very good job of it or not, but because of the way time is, and that doesn't actually exist, and it's all quadrants happening simultaneously and blah, 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 that the first wave came through 6 months ago. And yet they've inserted themselves throughout time and quadrants. So you've been here for 6 months, but you've been here for hundreds or thousands of years. And some only feel like 3 months, like yourself, for me. And it's not even relative to when you feel like you had an awakening or, you know, whether you knew everything from the moment you got here or whether you just, you know, figured a couple of things out 5 minutes ago. It doesn't even seem to be relevant to that. But I love what you're saying about when they've come in with a pure resonance frequency of home that has reverberated, it's echoed, it's pinged right throughout.
It's magnetically steering it. That's what it's doing. It magnetically is steering us home. Because in whatever, somehow they were able to tattoo it onto their genetic resonance that it's like that map that brings us home is in their frequency. So it kind of allows things to collapse towards that. Because there's infinite possibility, and then just the way the train cars of reality work, that there are branches between every reality and home. And it's, you know, a difficult, tricky path to get there, but you can get there. And the 3 months thing is interesting because I genuinely feel like maybe it's only specific to the group I jumped in with, or maybe it's everybody, but I feel like the moment that we jumped in on linear time, even though it's not relevant, but on linear time, was when we moved into the space of no time in March.
Oh, really? You see that?
Yeah, because that allowed for us to move throughout space and time. Because if we had done it at another time, we would have kind of been stuck. But because we jumped in then, it means that we were always there, if that makes any sense, because it was in an in-between space.
Yep, it does.
But I also feel like time began to break down on the day of the Fukushima tsunami, because I think they were trying to either reboot it or get us stuck into another matrix, whatever it was. But because Japan and that region represents the, I don't know if chakra is the right word, but like the tech chakra of the planet, and that's why all of the greatest technology comes out of there, and it just is related to that technology resonance. That's something to do with their tech getting fucked up happened on that day. And everything kind of cascaded out of that until eventually time just completely collapsed in March. But that was like the moment that things started, I would say, speeding up, at least. And where things go from there, I don't know. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like we've been here 3 months and 100,000 years because we're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. But I think as soon as the first group of volunteers, that first 6, I don't think that I'm in that first 6, but that first 6, once they got through, it was kind of like anybody could go through. And once people saw that they were fine and that all the fear was just that they made it through, everything was good, they survived, everybody jumped in because everybody wanted to participate. So
yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, I don't feel like your first wave either, because for me, first wave was 6 months ago. Yes.
When Jenny was just talking, and you think that the false timelines were closed down 214, maybe the ones created in 211 that he's talking about. Yeah. That's what they created.
I think what she just said was the false timelines that were created with Fukushima in 2011 were closed out in 2014.
That would make sense, because the year of 2013 for me just kind of felt like one long retrograde in the way that it moved, where it was like there's this arc of all these things that happen, and then all of that imploded. And at the beginning and end of that cycle, I was in the exact same spot where I started.
You were the one that did it.
And
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, so Donna, Christmas Day 2013. For me, she kept pointing at me going, "You're the one who did it." Is the day that all the false timelines closed out.
You had a memory of closing them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know whether I still don't know whether I was doing it or whether I was just witnessing it. But that day, there were hundreds of timelines closed out. And I ended up on the funkiest one for 2014. I don't know why I left myself there exactly, but
No,
anyway.
that might have been the first beginning of creating the track. That's why it felt so funky.
Oh, okay. That feels right, actually. If we did, in fact, create a copy and acted as bait, that's what that was all about. That's exactly what that was all about. We closed off all the false timelines. We closed off the access back to the original layer and construct, quarantined it off. That's when we started to create the copy. I ended up in the copy. Holy shit. And a bunch of us acted as bait. A whole bunch of us acted as bait. That's when that all started. And home, the original home construct is no more. It's gone. It is actually gone as far as I'm concerned. And everybody from home went one of two places. They rode themselves in here, or they've gone to what Lily was calling Windows 50, the new one, the sphere, the pink sphere, the whatever.
what I saw in regards to that mirroring in relation to what we were talking about before was that it was almost as if, remember when the pink sphere was moving through and Peter was dousing it as it got through the planets and things like that, before we entered into the space of no time and before we entered into this copy, something kept telling me, or a feeling, that it was almost as if there was an old and kind of similar looking construct on Mars that we were kind of, not that Mars is even a planet, but more or less a hard drive, that there was like a URL transfer from this to that because they had the time to fix it up, and it's a mirror of a mirror. And like you said, we lured them into this box, and once they got in here, they realized that none of their power worked because now their power was literally an illusion. And as soon as they tried to do anything aside from the power that we would give them, it was the same reason why the queen was sitting there with her crown off, because they literally just don't have any power. And they've entered into this space where it's just like whoever they were talking to before he ain't talking back, because it's not actually the space that they thought that they were in. We lured them into literally a mirror of a mirror is what I'm seeing. So, and also apparently there's some new
the two girls in the background who were like, oi, me, my turn. So you need to be sure you can be heard. So, I wake them up in the morning. It's like, I don't want to go to school today.
It's good being at school. This relates to what the boys were telling us about the pink sphere no longer existing, because it doesn't, in the sense that... Can you hear me? Can you hear me, people? Hello? Yep. Yay! Because it's now actual. The pink sphere was like our landing pad, but now it's an actual. It's formed, it's ready. That's why the boys have got this tunnel thing going on, because they're actually arriving at it. It's no longer what was created in order for us to get there.
It's like the pink sphere was a code, and I've always said that. And it's
Yeah.
for a code, and we've integrated it enough. Me and Shara created a landing pad for the new reality. What she's saying is it's ready enough for people now to tunnel through to access and start experiencing and engaging in a way that we would another parallel world or another timeline.
Can anyone hear Donna? No. You're on the other side of the room.
Oh, you know I can't repeat myself. It never turns out. Can you, Karen?
No.
Oh.
You have to do this.
School's in. Go over here.
What did I say?
Oh, what did I say?
Okay.
Landing pad.
Parallel.
It's ready.
It's ready.
Oh, I said the pink sphere was a code. Yeah. That's all it was. It was a metaphor. Like, it may have come in a ball. It may have even come in a ball, but it was a metaphor for a new code, a new energy, a new source, an upgraded source.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to integrate that.
And it was pink because it was pure.
It was pure.
That's right.
It wasn't held in a frequency. So as we've integrated it, I know me and Shah created a little landing pad, but what she's saying is it's obviously we're ready now to access it like we do another timeline or through dream state or through energy work for people.
It's realised itself.
It's become created enough.
I genuinely feel like the very last thing that's left for us to do is just stand in our power. That's pretty much it. Affirm that we have the power, lose the doubt that we don't, and just kind of stand in it, because like you said, it's real now. There's something about it where it's like it feels like it's vibrating just outside of our existence, and all we have to do is pull it in.
Yep.
Because, we have that prison thing going on where we're only in this light spectrum, but it's there. It's just right past what we can see. And I don't know if anyone else saw it, but Og Talez came out with a video this week, and it was actually a little bit easier to watch because it had like graphs that went with it. So there was a little bit more to it. But at the end of it, he was talking about literally anchoring in and pulling in different timelines. And I feel like that's literally what we can do with home in some sort of weird way, is that it can actually be anchored in physically. And there was a weird push that came through the mainstream media this week about Anonymous saying that NASA is about to confirm ET life and this, that, the other. And what that makes me think is that it's like the veil is so thin at this point that anything could pop through, and they just want to start predictive programming, beta testing, like, oh, it's UFOs, oh, it's this, it's that, because they don't want you to think that it's actually something coming from this home timeline. But if it did physically matter, like, who knows what that would look like. So I think it's anyone's guess at this point, but it really is just about affirming it. I think that's all that's literally left, is just affirming it and holding that space and just saying, I have this energetic marker, so mote it be, whatever. And I don't know if that resonates with anybody, but when they say, oh, we already did our work.
It certainly will for them, because we've played in it, we've integrated it, we've connected with it, on a regular basis. So I know it will with them. And for many others who don't know anything about this narrative, you see it on Facebook all the time, people making comments about the pink skies, pink clouds, pink this, pink that, and they've got no idea about these pink spheres or this narrative at all. So it is there and available. And yes, it is about pulling it in and integrating it. I have no doubt about that. So I agree with you completely. Yeah, the chat goes too fast. Someone trying to ask me something? No? Why is he feeling this? He's just feeling what he's feeling.
There's no distinguishing between imagination and intuition at this point. That's pretty much what I keep hearing. So go with that.
I mean, you mentioned the Queen doing her speech for the very first time, as far as I know, out of all of her royal garb, without all the pomp and ceremony. She was just sitting there in her, little hat and dress ensemble. And for years now, the Queen Commonwealth country, there's usually a picture of the Queen in every courtroom. For years now, her image and has been disappearing from courtrooms. The Admiralty flags have been, I think it's the Admiralty flags, have also been disappearing. But that was very telling. For her to be performing a royal function without any of the accoutrements of her power, I think that was very, very telling. What was the other thing that happened? Oh, the idea that NASA is actually a fraudulent thieving organisation is being brought by the public to government, especially obviously in America, but that space agencies in general are in collusion to manipulate and defraud the people is something that's starting to be brought up to governments themselves and to the media by the public, asking for answers. So I find that interesting. And what was the other thing? Someone mentioned something that plays into all this too. What you said about anything can happen, and they're trying to, preempt. No, it's gone. I had a thought about all that. Hey, it's gone. Well, that's possibly true with the whole Spain thing. I'll have to go back and revisit what Dee and I dug up about all of that. Yes, there was something far out. My brain's not working now. Sorry, guys. Zero's got a question for everyone. What if you understood that you got to choose the narrative? Would you change things? Would you accept the current narrative? What if you also understood you could reject the offered narrative and bring in a created collective narrative? And what would it look like? Oh, okay. So if you do have anything to come out and share, please put your hand up. Earl, you're up.
Yeah. So you were talking about with the Queen and the flags and all that, the MOT flags. Well, don't you remember in 2013 that the Pope came out with an apostolic letter stating that he was going to end certain contracts or whatever? I can't remember, but I know he was going to end something, and it was supposed to be by September or December or something like that.
Yes, I do.
I remember that. So maybe one thing coming back around, bringing back to, like we're shifting back to 2013, is maybe because they co-opted somehow holding that off, but then they couldn't do it any longer, so it had to be, brought back around to deal with all this stuff that was hanging there and had to be dealt with. And anyway, besides that, so I had two weird experiences, but yet the same experience. I went to movies on Wednesday night with my friend, and it was the first night of Transformers, the opening day, that. So I was saying, wow, it's going to be packed in the theater. It's going to be a huge, massive line for this movie. Like, even still, not like the pre-night showing, but I figured it would be a line and whatever. hardly anyone was at the movie theater. Yeah, hardly anyone was at the movie theater. There was like, I could count like a few handful of people that I've actually seen.
For the opening night of Transformers?
No, like not for like, yeah, you know how they didn't even do a pre-night thing, you know, when they do like a late night showing of the first, I mean, they didn't do that. No one showed pretty much up, like the theater that me and my friend went to, I could count maybe, there were probably 10, maybe 15 people in the theater.
Okay, that is odd.
So then the other day, like last Thursday, Friday, I go into this doctor's office to get my bladder, you know, my checkup from the surgery that I had to look into my problem. Anyway, so we're there, and hardly anyone's there. I'm like, it's a doctor's office. Doctor's offices are usually, you know, people coming and going, like a lot of people coming and going.
And
Yeah,
is this a doctor that you're familiar with, in an office you're familiar with?
I think I've been there like once, but the odd thing was, like, I know how doctors' offices are, right? I've never felt being in a doctor's office, it felt eerie. Like something was out of place. Plus, the hallways were more narrow. The hallways in the office are a little more narrow feeling. And even Marlena was telling me, well, Marlena told me this. Then it hit me, I'm like, yeah, the hallway, even at the movie theater, the hallway in the theater, like where you stand and wait for the movie, where you go to the washroom. And it felt a bit narrow. And I had that feeling. And when I stood outside, me and my mom waiting for my dad to pick us up, it was cloudy, but yet it was like bright on my eyes. I was like, what the heck? It shouldn't be like, if it's cloudy, it shouldn't feel bright on your eyes. And yeah, it was weird. And today,
So where did everybody go, Well?
I don't know. And this is the thing that I'm thinking, like, something's happening with the construct where I get the feeling that there could be some people just
disappearing
within the ships. Like there is something going on that I can't physically or mentally explain to people. Something strange is just like going, where's everyone going? I don't know.
The further we get into this, the less words we have to explain what.
And another thing, my mind went bad, and my mind went blank. I'm like, wait, my room. Wait a minute, this is my room, right? This is my room. Like I blanked out about my room, and I'm like, oh, my room looks different. I don't know why my room looks different. It just feels different. So yeah.
Okay, well, I want to ask this question generally. Who else is feeling like when they look in the mirror, it's not quite them looking back?
Me.
Okay, there's quite a few. Yes, no, yes.
I always feel like the other guy on the other side wants to punch me for some reason. I don't know why.
The guy in the mirror wants to punch you for some reason.
I don't know why. I just get that feeling. Like, he's like, if you get too close to the screen, I will take you. But I get that feeling. Also another thing I noticed, my eyes are now moving in sync, which they hadn't done before. I'm like, yeah, like your eyes are doing, like when you, yeah. Because my one eye would go like it would not sync up correctly. Like I've always had that problem, but now apparently they can do that. Like,
Well, that's interesting. So that's a
yeah,
we consider that a healing, or
yeah, I can say that here. It's this thing that's getting weird. Did you send me anything in the email for the group?
yeah, yeah, you're all in.
Okay.
You should have an email with all your details.
What is it under? Like what name should I be looking for?
I'll message you afterwards with all the details if you like.
Okay, message me on Facebook, please.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna mute. Let some other happy soul. Okay.
Thanks, darling.
Yep.
I dreamt of you, Lise. You and a bunch of people and kids were passing through and stopped and visited me on your way there and back. Where was I going? Okay, so for those of you who are seeing something else in the mirror, what's the variance? Because I saw some of you say an older version of you. For those who feel like it's an older version of you, are you also the ones who feel like maybe you've moved forward? Really older version. The old chick who points and laughs. The fat old chick. Oh, shut up, Charlotte. Okay, so there's quite a few. So is that a yes? Like those of you who are seeing an older version also feel like maybe in the last week you moved forward? Yes. Okay. That's interesting. So yeah, there's a few people having the same experience as you.
It's good to know I'm not alone. Yeah, I'm not the only old fart around here.
Aaron's asking for clarification. Which part of you are you looking at? The body, the eyes, the entity behind the eyes?
It's like an overlay. It's like a slight overlay, but it also shows up in the.
So for Donna, she said it feels like an overlay, but it has details.
And I can actually see it in his face. But it's not right.
Yeah, lots of eyes changing. It started for Donna since Friday, when we all felt that huge energy come through, and everyone started going in different directions. And that's when I felt like I went back 3 days. And even those of you who weren't on the call or actually felt it come in and had to leave the call because you felt it, that later found out that it hit everybody. There's been a few of those too. They didn't realise that it was about to hit everyone. When we all got hit on Friday, there were people who had hit just moments before it hit us, and we started talking about it, and they left the call because they were like, what the hell? And then later came back to find out it hit everybody that was on the call. Well, most people anyway. I'm the same miserable bugger I always was. No. Yes, it is. Everything's up on the archives, yes. The other day I was looking specifically at my eyes and they were very green and a few seconds more brown again. They have always been multicolored, but mainly see brown with green and gold flecks, swamp, like a swamp or something. My overlay is sliding off. Um, so, okay. I see my female other. Green eyes turning blue. Yeah, the ring, the outside ring around the pupil. Is anyone noticing that being more pronounced? Darkening, thickening. Yep, I go from 30 to 70, I swear, depending on the day. Been lots of 70 days lately, unfortunately. Less 30s. Okay, you guys are having some pretty interesting experiences. So, does anyone want to come out and share anything? Hand up. Is there anything else you two talking amongst yourselves in the background there want to, you're looking at each other's eyes. The ring, you're talking about? Yeah. I've always had hazel eyes, like brown with a green ring. But that green ring was just a very fine ring. And in 2013 is when my eyes completely changed. And the brown lightened up, turned gold on some days, and then they became far more green. And now they're on a mind, they've got a mind of their own. They do their own thing now. Watching Lisa talk to the teleprompters. What's Peter said? Oh, can't find it.
Lisa, read what Morgan said
about the ring. It rings around the eyes as the limbal ring. It is a sign of good health or youth. Babies have a thick gimbal ring.
So
limbal ring. Age reversal. So the thicker the ring, the well, it's not showing up anywhere else.
Well, give it time.
It thins with age. Oh. Interesting. These two want to beat me up.
Well, we love you.
They're ganging up on me. It's not fair. Okay, is there anything you two want to share? Because I'm done.
Snakes in the sky, phoenixes.
Oh, well, I suppose we could share the activities that happened last night. So this hasn't happened since the girls were here last. We went out, as we talked about last time, there was a small aircraft. There is a very small local airport that handles just small aircraft, not too far away. But I never really see any activity from there. So the night that, the night after Jenny arrived, is the night that Lila and Oliver came through and spoke. We spoke quite a bit. And there was a small, before they came through, there was a small plane that was just doing loops above my house, sort of over the airport to the house. It must have done it 10 times. And there was all kinds of stars that were moving around. It was very active. There was weird cloud stuff going on. It was all very odd. And then we came inside and Oliver and Lulu came in. So last night we heard the small plane again, and I hadn't heard it since. Went outside, sure enough, small plane's doing a different circle, but it's still doing circles that go pretty much over the house. And then what we argued about as to whether or not it was a plane, like a big plane, went overhead. I was sure it wasn't a plane. The lights were completely wrong. It even moved. It didn't move like a plane. It was too fast. It had I know planes fly, but this had a more of a sleek glide feeling. And it didn't go on what I've ever known flight path. The height was wrong for the speed. Everything to me was wrong. It didn't look like a plane.
No sound.
And completely no sound. And it went overhead. And as it got to sort of here, matching one started coming. And so not only was there one where I've never seen one fly before, they didn't quite look like a plane, but it was followed by a second and then a third. And seriously weird stuff. And then there was stars doing little twinklies and dances that they should not supposed to do. Has the mural changed? No, I don't think so. I took a photo of it a few weeks back just to give myself something to compare it to. But no, I haven't noticed any more changes to that. Didn't have anything that would pick it up, the lights in the sky last night. But we now have a pair of infrared binoculars. We just have to find them. So they will be coming out tonight.
I have to find them. They're in one of those bags. I'll dig through them and repack them.
Oh, I didn't hear that, Susanna. I'll have to go back and have a listen. Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to catch up on the chat. Nothing came through. Lily didn't come through last night.
No.
We were somewhat anticipating it based on the activity in the sky, but no. I'll be pissed actually if we have to wait too much longer because it feels like everything's in place for the next piece. Aaron, come out.
So as you've been talking about how kind of nothing happened this week and that like stage 1 has been completed, but stage 2 isn't here yet.
Yep.
I just wanted to say, like, can anyone else relate to this feeling? Like the analogy, like a video game character that's finished all the current quests and like there's kind of nothing to do until the stage 2 quests drop in. It's like, I feel like I've completed stage 1 and I'm just sort of like, okay, sitting here like there's nothing to do.
Waiting for the game to load.
Yeah, or waiting for something to happen or for the next part of the game to like come up or to receive, like, it just kind of feels like I don't know if you've ever played a video game when you've completed all the quests, but you're just usually just kind of running around, like not doing nothing. That's what it feels like right now. And I wanted to know if anyone else can kind of relate to that. And it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of people in the chat.
Yeah, to me, it just feels like everybody getting strategically in place. And some have gotten there and we're waiting for it, others to get there. And so there's this...
Events. We always go play events.
Because everything's event, yeah. Nothing's happening in linear time sequence anymore. It's event-driven. So the prepping is happening for the next event, whatever that is. That's how it feels to me, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, I'm also kind of wonder if other people are able to say that in their own way to see if, I mean, it's just to kind of know.
Hands up, so maybe they will share. Joseph.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Dylan.
I do have a question. I didn't know. I saw Peter's hand was up, but I guess you're coming to me first. But don't forget Peter. If he's okay. The reason I am coming on, I had just had this question for you about the original rainbow flag. You know, for the LGBT. I have 2 kids that are in Pride because they are both gay, one male and one female, and they both have same-sex significant others. But however, the flag has 6 stripes now, which is the one that everybody knows. However, the original one designed in San Francisco by the artist who created it, had two additional stripes. It had pink on the top above the red, and it had turquoise between what they call blue and the green, which would be closer to the blue in spectral light, but not quite. But the idea is the pink is at the top or closest to the sun, whereas the cooler colors are away from the sun. The question that comes to mind is, does that pink have any connection with the pink with home and that we've been talking about on all of your shows? Because I think there is some sort of a connection, because, I mean, God forbid, when Trump became president, the first thing I did was came up with this idea that the people unite somehow, and I called it, I think I put a post, I think I put up in the UU, and I called it the American Commonwealth Decentralist Coalition, and I used the six-stripe rainbow flag as it is in the LGBT, and with two cross lightning bolts, and I put it up in the UU, and someone said, "Oh my God, that's the gay fight." Well, I have two gay kids, so the thing is, I am transcending what the demiurge imposed upon us, whereas dividing us with duality of male and female. Yes, that's how it was done so we could populate the planet, but we are beyond that, and originally we were not divided by sex. I mean, we were androgynous. So I was just throwing that out. What do you think about that pink? Why did they take that out? Any ideas, Lisa? And then I will let it go.
My only idea would be that because it is a non-manipulatable frequency.
That's what pink is. Okay, thank you. And I think it was hidden because you know how anything that has high meaning like that is going to be screened out. It doesn't surprise me. The turquoise, I mean, the thing is, yeah, they said it was for the ease of printing or reproducing the flags. But they originally, that guy, Mr. Baker, I can't remember his first name, who was the artist that designed the flag, and I guess it made a huge one. There was a giant one that was on display at the 25th anniversary of Stonewall in riots in New York City. So that's all I know about that, but I just wanted to hit you with the pink. So namaste, Lisa, and thank you very much, and I will mute.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the only input I could have on that, to be honest. Peter.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, John.
Going to your question, what's going on at the moment? Is it quiet or is everybody waiting?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I told you that those energies we had last week are still there, a bit more in balance. They're about 20% lower at the moment, but they are rising. You can see that they, well, let's say somewhere Wednesday, Thursday, they can be pretty high, I guess, what I'm getting anyway. So we can wait as a collective for that.
Was it last Tuesday? Was it last Tuesday on this show that I said something came in about 1 week?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that, which brings us up to today, tomorrow.
Yeah, well, it's rising.
And I still don't know what that's about. I still feel that the feeling is still there. Now it's like smack up here because it's about to hit, but I don't know what it is yet.
No. It doesn't feel negative, not at all.
No, not at all.
And it's more balanced at the moment. There will be highs. Yesterday there was suddenly a high, and well, it could be steps like you said yesterday or the day before yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than a.
So we'll see. But there's also the personal side of this, and well, that's not very quiet. Because, well, as you know, Curtis and I have been going let's say, inside, and doing a lot of work there. And we saw that tunnel. Well, as Ginny said, her boys saw the pink sphere disappear with the crystal exploding. And then we saw this blue-green tunnel. And I think it was yesterday, because my time is totally gone, the sense of time. We decided to go in there, and we both had our very individual experiences, but we ended up home. And for me, it was really curious, as I could feel my body there. If I go into the water, I can feel water around my legs and feel the sand, because I have this shack on the beach. And I could feel the sand under my feet. It intensified.
Oh, that must be nice.
Oh, very nice. But what also became very clear to us is that if you go, let's say we are going backwards in gathering our fractals and so on and so on and so on. That may also be appropriate to do with the language. We are so used to be very specific about all kinds of points and specialize it. You know, the basic thing can be so how the hell do you say that? Complicated.
Yep.
But when you go back, it becomes more and more clear.
Well, all of this
All
language
the
is
drops
amazing. I mean,
off.
spheres and colors and tunnels and all of this is metaphor for a quality of code, I guess. You know, I mean, so for me it represented as a pink sphere, and I have to say that for the reason for that would be because the pink was to tell me that it was uncorrupted, it was pure. And the sphere to tell me that it was something completely different. It was completely new from the old construct, which was always a cube. So for me, I saw the construct as a blue cube, this new code as a pink sphere, just to really make the difference. So it's just, and you know, we're seeing tunnels of various colors. So I think it's just all to represent and be a metaphor for the quality, the flavor, the integrity, and the origin of the code that we're dealing with. You know, the black goo is another way of saying the same thing. I mean, we see that as a virus, that's the corrupted code. So the only language that works for me at the moment is this computer technology sort of metaphor, because we're dealing with code.
But the experience was so basic that a lot of words just vanished more or less, and we were both thrown back to ourselves. And basically it was, we're fully empowered. And that's it. No more questions about it. The only thing you have to do is get your head around it. So we are trying teleporting and whatever comes up in our mind.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to share.
Thank you. JJ's got his hand up as well.
There we go. Good morning or afternoon.
It's still morning for me.
Greetings and all of that. Yesterday at 4:42, which is 10 minutes from now, this wave hit me. I mean, it was like, you know, we were talking about falling sideways, left to right. This was like, I could go either way. It was kind of like Kahwamo. And I went, whoa, what the hell's this? And so I kind of sat back in my chair and, you know, like, ride it out, you know, ride the wave, dude. So I was sitting there watching, observing the whole thing, and it was like going, and it kind of built up to this nice crescendo, and then it kind of slowly tapered off, and like 3 minutes later, it was like, I mean, I could still tell it was there, but it was like a single wave that came in, was very pronounced, and then just sort of tapered off, and it was like, what the hell was that? And so I posted it in on the what's that new system, the new software we're using, the not denoise, whatever it is. I posted it, and I don't know if I got any responses or not, and it doesn't look like anyone else noticed it, but it was unforgettable, actually, is a good way of putting it.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we've had all the seismographs going off, and yet a complete silent period with earthquakes themselves. We've had the Schumann resonance widening out all over the place. I don't know what the sun's been doing. I haven't actually looked at that. But I think we're becoming more and more sensitive to all of these things. Have you had a look to see if any of that correlated?
Yeah, I did look at the Schumann from Russia, and also from the live feed from various places, and none of it really seemed to correlate. It didn't seem like it almost felt like a gravity wave, not an electromagnetic, but something that just kind of takes you and kind of squeezes you, or
a compression.
Yeah, compression, but followed by a release. In other words, it was like build up to like the stair step thing I've talked about before, where it goes up and then it levels off. Except this time it went up and then it kind of came down and then just sort of tapered off. So it wasn't like a whammy, although because it took, you know, several minutes. But if you sped it up, it would be like a striking or a blow, just like a bam, and then it just tapered off. But it took longer, so it wasn't like getting hit with any.
No, I want to ask you something, because this could have been an integration, because if you felt like you could have gone either way, and then there was a compression, tell me if this is accurate, was it a compression followed by an expansion in the sense that you just felt more and bigger once it all passed? JJ. Where'd you go? He's muted.
Oh, there. I hit the wrong button on the wrong. There we go. It was kind of like I was just sitting here doing something, and I felt this concussive. It wasn't really concussive, but liken it to a concussive effect. Things got squeezed, and the ability to know left or right kind of went sideways, or went, you know, out of the picture. So I mean, I could have gone either way, but I didn't. And then it just slacked off. I kind of expected it to go or morph or take the next step. It was like, this was like an introductory, like ringing a bell, you know, bing. Well, then you kind of expect the next tone to come out, or some other. Hang on. Enough. Leave it. Come on. Leave it. Thank you. Sit. Guys. Anyway, go back. It was a concussive effect. I expected things to happen afterwards. In other words, it was like a lead in. It was like a, you know, like I say, ringing a bell, get your attention. Here's something going on. Next. And there just wasn't anything next.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So a bit anticlimactic.
Yeah. I was going, hey, now we're going. Hey, sign me up. You know, I'm on the e-ticket ride here. Let's go. And it just kind of fell away. But I thought, well, okay, maybe it's just, you know, get your attention and, you know, let you know that things are coming. But I was kind of like, hey, this is pretty cool. But damn, why did it have to stop? At any rate,
Thank you.
That's what it struck. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, because other people may have felt it at the same time and not had anything to relate to. So thanks for sharing that. But I need to share this now, which is a text message I just got from someone who doesn't listen to these calls or follow what we talk about. So, hey, Lee, something I need to pass on to see if this means anything to you or others. Sound makers. I've had some deeply vivid experiences in places I cannot explain my whole life involving sound. So hard to explain, but just like the map keepers, dragons, there are sound makers. We work with sound internally on a very deep level, like a tuning or an alchemical sound process. The familiarity of this I can't explain, but I just somehow know what to do. There are others doing what I do. I feel them and work with them. It's like a quiet type of work that is very individual to each doing it, yet somehow it's necessary, not only individually, but on the whole, as a part of the process. Does this resonate with anyone that you know? And I've got a couple of yeses in the room, apparently. And quite a few yeses coming through in the chat as well. Okay.
If I might, I'm a self-proclaimed audio fool, which means that I'm into sound in a big way. I mean, like heavy duty, like I just, top end stuff. And sound to me is about resonance structures, is about how individual tones combine to create feelings. I mean, body feelings. I mean, literally in the body couples to it. But also the mind picks up on certain resonance frequencies and creates an image, a mental image of what that particular sound is, like something like a violin really close up, or a violin backed off with all kind of reverberant field. Same violin, it's just you hear it in different contexts. So as a consequence, you can identify more of, is it in a big room or is it like up close and personal? That's all that resonance stuff. And there is this deals with audible frequencies. In other words, stuff that you can hear with your ear. The body hears way above and way below that, but the same resonance structures apply. One of my key things I'm doing here is I'm able to get my audio system to go subsonic. In other words, I'm using from like 10 hertz, which is like total body feeling. You don't hear that, but I'm getting 10 hertz all the way up. And when that degree of coupling hits in, there's meaning there. There's a message in it, and the body knows and can deal with it as such. So I just wanted to inject that in her as sort of a comment about her sound thing.
Yeah, there's two things that I've felt for quite a few years now that we're going to play a part in whatever an event or shift is, and that is the sun and sound, tones. Toning has come up for me consistently over the last sort of 5 or 6 years as being a part of this process. I think, and the solfeggio tones keep coming back around every few months. The singing stars and the number 88 video that we did.
Frequency fences.
The frequency fences themselves would have an element of sound to create those fences. Yes. Everything has a tone. So here we have another potential subgroup forming, which is the sound makers or the sound keepers. Interesting.
Another key one.
Stage 2. Stage 2 would be sound.
Because you needed the map keepers to get to this stage. So the sound keepers come in for stage 2, because if they start playing with the tones more and that starts to integrate, then we start seeing a changing overlay, because our brains operate on frequency. So if we have new frequency, we will observe a new reality.
You realise you're just talking to me.
But I tell you so you can tell me.
But that actually feels quite right. The map keepers got us through stage 1 and stage 2 is connected to sound?
Because our brains translate sound into imagery, which is an 3D reality, and if we start picking up new sound frequencies, our reality will to change. That's stage 2, Mandela effect reality phasing in and out of Charlotte.
Oops.
Yeah, sorry, go, Jojo.
In conjunction with sound, of late, there's been a phenomena happening, and I liken it to, I call it super duper glue for your headphones. You can't take them off. The sound is so compelling. The sound is so real. So you are there that you literally cannot take your headphones off. You are entranced. You are sucked into the music to the point where you not only don't want to stop, you can't stop. And it's not just me. There's a bunch of folks that are getting sucked into this. And this has been a sort of a recent development in the high-end audio stuff. But the point is, what that results in is bleary-eyed the next morning because it's 5 o'clock in the morning and the sun's coming up and you realize that you haven't gone to bed, and now all of a sudden you've got a day full of work or whatever that you got to do, and it's like, but it's addicting. In other words, there is such a compulsion, there's such a command over your ability to do anything else. In other words, literally, you do not want to do anything else. You are stuck listening to music. And what happens is I use the term, it surrounds you and you're in it. It's not just listening to it afar. It's not in front of you. You're in the middle of it. It surrounds you. It envelops you. And when that happens, you don't want to do anything else. I mean, literally, you do not want to do anything else. You're stuck. And that's why I call it super duper glue for headphones, because you're stuck in your chair. It doesn't matter. You're just grooving and you're waiting for the next track because that one was really cool. The next one, oh geez, and there you go. So even breaks between tracks or breaks between albums isn't enough to break the spell. It's sound is magical. Let's put it that way.
JJ, may have that to do with the harmonics.
Definitely. I mean, it's
because the harmonics will entrap you. Let's put it that way.
Yes, and it's not just the harmonics; it's the harmonic structures. In other words, it's how they integrate back into and how the brain interprets it. And that's really what it's all about. The gear basically is just providing a signal for the brain to grab onto, to then recreate this experience. And it's powerful, compelling, but only when the harmonic structures are properly reconstructed. Let's put it that way. That this process happens. But it is becoming. I mean, I experienced this back in the 70s. And ever since I've been trying to get back to it. I mean, it's that powerful, and it's taken till just in the last 4 or 5 years that it's starting to rear its head. And it's not just me. I mean, I thought, well, I'm going to get it, and who knows if anybody else. No, this is happening to a bunch of folks. Folks.
And now you're talking about the technical side of it. But I don't know if you've ever been to a choir, especially a boys' choir in a church or something like that. Those harmonics will totally envelop you, and you only can just sit there and listen.
Yeah. I mean, you just get enraptured. I mean, it totally grabs you, and you don't want to do anything else. You really don't.
That's the way to inform water.
Yeah. I mean, it's like being. I'm a motorcyclist, and one of the things about being a motorcyclist is it forces you to be in the now. You have to be aware of all of your circumstances, what's going on around you, all of that stuff in real time, and stay in that if you want to stay alive, more or less. And being in the now for that prolonged period of time has consequences. And one of those is every once in a while you find yourself in what we call the zone. In other words, things just get magical. And you can't do anything wrong. It's just you go with the flow, and it's like you are participating, but it's all automatic. It's just and everything just clicks. It's like that, except audibly, not moving through time and space like in a car or a motorcycle or whatever. And these kinds of moments are indelibly etched in your memory. You can't forget them.
You're one with everything then.
Yeah, it's
Basically.
like being stuck in the now.
Yeah.
Hey, JJ.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I could share something with you kind of about sound and the experience of experiencing sound, just to kind of bounce off of you.
Not a problem.
So I kind of wrote this a while ago, but I realized, and not that long ago, that it seems that not all people experience music as 3D layers of sound, but like as single layered 2D. And I thought, like, oh my gosh, how dull, and kind of sad when I realized this. And so, like, which is why I finally understood why I enjoy certain kinds of electronic dance music when other people just can't get into it. Because, like, I'm hearing it in, like, 3D layers of sound, while other people are just, like, experiencing it on this 2D level. And it seems like there are two types of people. You know, it's because I'm getting lost in the depth of the layers and sound effects, while for others, it just sort of flattens and becomes noise. And, like, some artists, like Daft Punk or Justice or Deadmau5, like, in particular, have amazing, like, 3D sound depth and texture, even though they're repetitive songs. And with the repetitive songs, I've learned that, like, some people just hear a repeating pattern, like, endlessly. And they don't really get the oceanic depths and currents behind the repeating pattern. And, like, and yeah, so, and the other thing too is that I don't know, it's kind of funny how you never really question that your experience may not be other people's experience, but it's like there are 2D sound people, and it's like looking at a flat picture of a room, even though the picture is flat, like they can sense that there's depth there. But like 3D sound people, it's like standing physically in the room, and like they get a sense of depth that is much more physical and visceral, and it's like totally in that moment.
Yeah, I call that process being calibrated. There's a function of when we hear stuff, especially if it's a live performance or a playback system, whatever. And the best we've ever heard is the standard we use to know what's possible. In other words, what you're doing is you're actually calibrating your own ability to recreate the audible input into your ears and your body into a it's like on a screen, although in some cases it's not a screen per se. You can actually point specifically to certain things in front of you. In other words, it's like not only height and width and depth, but you can also paint the picture of the room that they're playing in. In other words, you can see not just 3D, but in a sense 4D, because you've got the acoustic combination of the room as part of or as a modifier to the original sound. Now, electronic music and stuff, that generally doesn't, well, I mean, they use reverb and they use a bunch of tricks that way. But in natural acoustic stuff, you can actually hear the room. And so therefore you can
well, let me specify. Certain kinds of electronic music, not all. Definitely not all.
Right. Yeah, I mean...
Guys, I need to interrupt. Sorry about the reverb. Because we actually do only have like 9 minutes left and we've got 4 people to share. So I'm going to go Donna quickly.
Okay, so what I heard when I heard Sound Keepers was we have the map keepers to get us to finish stage 1, get to a certain place, and then maybe everyone getting set up like an orchestra. If the tech changes, Sound Keepers may internally start producing sounds that when the frequencies or combination of the frequencies come together, our brains relate our reality from sound, frequency, and vibration. If that begins to change, our perception of reality should start to shift and change as well. Is that stage 2, Mandela effect, where realities like Charlotte has experienced overlay and start coming in through sound? And speaker.
And Susanna just reminded me earlier that I had that experience of being sung through the veils. Do you remember that woman who sung me through the veils? I remember, I've completely forgot about it. So there was that. Okay, we've got Patty's had her hand up for a while. Patty? Well, I'll come back to you. Claire? Claire, you're unmuted? No, come back to you too. Karen?
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
With this sound thing, all I keep thinking of is that we have our own songs. You know, we have our own sound, our spirit or whatever. We have our own sound, and as an instrument of that sound, anything that clogs up that instrument creates a sound that's not genuine to the authentic.
Discordant.
And so discordant. And as, you know, what can interfere with sound, metals, things like that, toxins, all that. So as we clean out our instrument, our sound comes back to what its original song is. And through that song, we can traverse, we can travel, we can move. That's my thought.
Yeah, I do like the analogy of an orchestra, and we are all individual instruments, and we're tuning up right now, ready to sing our song. Yeah, with the song lines. Yeah, thank you, Karen. Okay, Claire.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, a lot of bad static on the line, and it's sort of drowning you out.
Maybe back further.
No, can't hear you, Dan.
Sorry.
Patty?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Okay. Hi. Yes, I usually don't raise my hand. I think this is my first time. So,
Yeah,
but I'll be quick because there are a few things I wanted to share, and we don't really have much time. But about the sound thing, as you guys were talking, I was thinking about its relationship to our DNA, and I think that we all have our own. Like, sound is like the tapestry of our vibration and frequency. So, and our DNA, I think, holds that. So even on our voices, we, our sound, our vibration, that signature frequency is carried. So that was my thought about sound. But I wanted to just share, I've been wanting to share this for a while, a dream that I had back about 6 weeks ago, and I hadn't made much of it. I have never really resonated with Egyptian, like Egypt, the whole Egyptian meme, and so I don't have dreams about Egypt. And about 6 weeks ago, I did, and the dream was simply that I was being buried alive in Egypt under some pyramid, and so going through like kind of the feelings about that, and then moved into the second part of the dream where I was a member of an archaeology group that was literally excavating the very pyramid under which I had been buried, or the burial ground under which I had. All I know is it was very thick slabs of stone. That I was, that was my bed. It was a very thick slab of stone, but it was definitely in Egypt. And so I just thought that, and I've never had a dream having to do that I can remember having to do with Egypt. And about 6 weeks ago, I did. So, and I thought
when the integration of Egypt started, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I've also, there's a painting, and I just started doing a painting. It's 4 foot by 5 foot. I don't really want to show you yet because it's not quite finished, but I was, this year has been a big year for me with rebuilding my life. And that's a story for another time. But I did a painting that's called Rebirth, and I was compelled to do dragons. There's a person kind of pushing off a sphere that contains an embryo of herself, and is guarded by 2 dragons. I've never done art with dragons before, but there they are on this huge piece of art that I'm doing, and I'll share it when it's done. I think I've got another couple of weeks to go on it.
Please do. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, okay. And that was it for me.
Thank you so much.
Lisa,
Thank you.
Lisa, it's Claire. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I had to change to an iPad. I just wanted to share a experience I had sitting by a creek, meditating, trying to empty my brain and let the water sound just rush through me. And all of a sudden I heard like Gregorian chants, and my eyes popped open. I'm looking around for somebody with a radio or a sound system, and there was nothing. And it was just so magical. And I just sat there and I heard it and I heard it, and it was just so magical. That was like 20 years ago.
So purely internal.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Well, it sounded like it was outside, but I was trying to let the water sing to me, and that's what came out of it. And I was wondering if maybe great composers actually heard sounds from water.
Oh, I'd say that, yeah, they hear from everything. It comes out, everything speaks to them in sound, I'd say. Yeah. Wow, interesting. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys, I didn't think we'd go for 2 hours. I actually thought we'd be hard pressed for an hour, but we've done it. And I actually have to cut it off on time today because we have places to go and people to see. So thank you so much. Good share, sound keepers, what do we call them? Sound keepers. Maybe the next, what's the word I'm looking for? Keyword for people. Wake up the next round of volunteers, not sure. But it feels right. So thank you. See you next week. See the members tomorrow. And talk to you soon. Bye for now.